And welcome back to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's Pokemon Team Creation Series suggestion comes to us from Mission Paw Marshall. Ask the question, what is the Pokemon team of that dastardly little dragon, Spyro? So Spyro's a unique case. You'd think it'd be a predominantly dragon-based team. And in many ways it is. In fact, I'd almost say that, let's see, given everything I'm looking at here, I'd say about 2/3 of this team, spoilers, are dragons in some way. But the thing is that Spyro himself is not like a full-grown dragon. He's not even the strongest dragon. He's the protagonist, so he gets to win his games, but he's not the strongest dragon around by any stretch of the means. He's a very young dragon, and by all accounts, an adolescent. So you'd think that, given all like what he's capable of doing, you'd put like super powerful like dragons on his team, but that's really not what you can do with this character. So, what would I do with this character? Well, there's one Mon on this team that does have to be addressed. Yanma. Spyro, as many people who are fans of the game know, was adopted by dragonflies. I thought he was a dragonfly for the longest time. So, it makes sense that we'd have something that represents his brother, whose name is escaping me at the moment. Sparks? Was that it? Either way. And I'm pretty sure Sparks was a dragonfly, not a, like, firefly. I'm almost positive that's what it's either dragonflies or fireflies. If it's a firefly, you can switch this out for a Illamuse or a Volbeat. But let me see here. Where did I? Okay, I'm pretty sure that's who he was adopted by. Is dragonflies. Let's see here. And story, Spyro scene, playable characters. Yeah, okay, it was dragonflies. I was right. So yeah, it makes sense that he would have a dragonfly that represents his brother on the team. Beyond that, though, now you get into most of the dragons that are on the team. There's one other non-dragon on the team. Now, I wanted something that was pretty much just Spyro, a very young, small dragon that can fly and has some attacks to it. The problem is, when you actually really look into it, flying dragon types are almost always fully evolved or mid-stage evolutions. In fact, let me go real quick here and get the Pokedex up here for Cerebi, so I can just be completely sure. Flying dragon types real quick here. So you have Dragonite, that's a fully evolved Pokemon. You have Altaria, that's a fully evolved Pokemon. You have Salamence, fully evolved Pokemon. You have Rayquaza, legendary Pokemon. And then you struggle for a bit to find any flying dragon Pokemon. Drampa is a flying is a normal dragon. In fact, actually, now that I really look into that, yeah, that's that is a very weak dragon. There's not a lot of flying dragons, is what I'm trying to get at. But there is one that even in the color palette fits, and that's Noibat. Noibat is a little purple bat dragon with little subwoofers. It's a flying dragon type, not a dragon flying type. Why is that important? I have no freaking idea. It doesn't change the type's resistances and weaknesses at all. So I don't know why it's important to have that in front. Maybe it's just because this thing is less draconic. And that might be it. It might be the fact that with Pokemon types, and this is just my theory, whatever the predominant type is, like say a grass fighting versus a fighting grass type, that first type is more prominently shown in their design. Because when you look at Noibat, admittedly, you wouldn't think dragon. You would think, you'd honestly probably think a poison flying type, a normal flying type. If a sound type existed, sound flying. You wouldn't inherently think dragon looking at that. Noivern, on the other hand, you would probably at least think dragon is one of the predominant typings. But Noibat, no. So that might be why that is the way it is. I mean, when you look at a lot of bug flying types, they predominantly look like bugs. There are no flying bug types listed as the flying type first. So, I don't know. You'd have to look at some Pokemon where the typings, when you actually look at where they are listed, switch places and see if that really follows through. For example, there are 2 dragon water types that I can think off the top of my head. 3, actually. Tatsugiri, Palkia, and Kingdra. Kingdra is a water dragon type, whereas Palkia is a dragon water type. And I believe Tatsugiri is also a dragon water type. And Kingdra, I can definitely see why you don't. Again, Kingdra is one of those things where you can kind of see the dragon influence, but if you didn't know it was a dragon type and someone said, what type do you think this is? You would probably just assume water type. Point being is that this little purple dragon works out good for the little base form Spyro. But then I had 3 Mon on this team that were kind of just filling in spots. And the reason for that is one of the things Spyro does in his games is go free other dragons and learn their breath weapons. He learns a couple breath weapons too. Now, I couldn't make an entire team just solely on the breath. Let me rephrase that. I could make an entire team slowly on the breath weapon, but I didn't want to do that. So I ultimately decided to go against that, but these not last, but a chunk of these are going to represent the breath weapon. And actually, let's get the fact that even without other breath weapons, he can still breathe fire out of the way. There is no, except for Turtonator and Reshiram, there are no dragon fire types today. If dragon type is our next pseudo legendary for whatever next gen region we go to, I would like to see a dragon fire type, because we finally got our ice dragon type in the Frigibax line. I like the line. It could use some fine tweaking, fine tuning. But I think a fire dragon type would be pretty good. That or ghost dragon that isn't freaking Giratina. We only have one ghost dragon right now. So again, that's assuming that we do another dragon type, which based on the track record seems sound we'll probably do another dragon fire type. Although a water fire type would actually be pretty good. Because that's actually a pretty solid typing water fire. I digress. So, that said, the one Mon on the team that isn't a dragon, the only other Mon's not a dragon, is I went with Fletchinder. And this is basically just, we have a flying type Pokemon that can shoot fireballs, all of that. But why Fletchinder of all things? Well, it's a mid-stage Mon. And with the exception of one other Mon on here, all the rest of these Mon are mid-stage Mon, because Spyro is no longer a young, like a baby dragon. He's a little bit more into adolescence. He's a bit more like a teenager. So I figured at least a middle stage evolution was very key for this for Spyro here. And Fletchinder, I think, works. It's kind of shaped even like a little bullet if you had it like diving in on you. So that would represent his ability to breathe fire. Then I wanted something that represented his ability for Ice Breath. The Ice Breath seems, I believe, was actually even the first breath weapon he learned. So made sense that I needed him on for that. And we have a Dragon Ice type now with I believe this one's Arctibax. By the way, this is my favorite of the Frigibax line, the 3 of them. This looks like a good middle stage. I am not as in love with Baxcalibur. I think they could have done more with that design. And even so, I still don't get these yellow V's on his hand. Are these supposed to be claws? Has anyone figured out what these are supposed to be? I'm not quite sure exactly. Frigibax has them too, but I think he only has like one hanging from there. They're supposed to like regulate his heat or something. I don't know. But yeah, no, Arctibax, the ice dragon that represents his ability to use the frozen breath abilities. But then there was also something that stated that he knew a specific type of martial art to fight specific shadow creatures. And there is only one dragon fighting type that exists out there. Actually, that's not true. There's not 2. Sorry, technically 4. But there's only one dragon fighting line minus Koraidon. And that is the Kommo line. Particularly Hakamo. Hakamo, I think it works out perfectly. Again, kind of looks a little arrogant too, which works towards Spyro, who can be arrogant. It's a dragon fighting type, which means it knows the dragon katas, at least the Pokemon equivalent of those. I get a lot of people who don't, or at least I hear a lot of people who don't really like the Kommo line. Jangmo-O, Kommo-O, Hakamo. It's Jangmo, Hakamo, Kommo-O. I get a lot of people who, not necessarily in my comments, just I've seen them in like ranking videos or all that, who don't really like this Mon, or like the Mon in terms of like design. I'm like, really? Because I think this is a really cool design. It's got a cool Maori samurai combo thing going on. I really like the design. For a dragon fighting type, I thought it was a really cool Mon. I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority on that. So last thing I added to the team was one more dragon type. And I figured, because it's easy to kind of fill out this team, I figured to make this one the exception to a rule where I do put one powerful mon, like one either non-evolving fully powerful guy on the team or a fully evolved guy on the team. Because Spyro, despite being an adolescent, is still very powerful, and he's displayed serious levels of power before. So I knew I wanted to put at least one thing on the team like that. And we still had a couple of elemental breaths to go. I could have gone wind. I could have gone water. And there was like the ghastly, ghosty breath or whatever. Ultimately, I went water, and I did ultimately go with a newcomer to the Pokemon world. That'd be Walking Wake. Let's actually get you more in. There we go. Walking Wake. And look, Walking Wake. Look, it took me a while to catch this thing until someone told me how to, until someone showed me the video. So I looked up the video how to. Walking Wake is like, no joke. Walking Wake is powerful. Design-wise, I will admit, this is not what I would expect from a Paradox Suicune. But on its own, in like a vacuum, I do like this cool maned dinosaur vibe. And a lot of people speculate maybe we'll see like the other two. Same that we got Virizion as well, Iron Leaves. So everyone's kind of speculating that in the DLCs, we're actually going to end up getting both of the other two for each one, which would make sense. We're already getting new Mon. We're getting they've now in the anime showed the, I don't know if it's the true form or if it's like a or if it's a pre-evolution like a Cosmog Solgaleo Lunala thing. They showed a little pre-evo turtle for Terralapago. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I did this because he's got a water breath, and I wanted one overall powerful Mon on the team, and this is an overall powerful Mon. So, yeah. So, balance-wise, how powerful is this team? Well, this team gets absolutely thrashed, A, by other dragons, but except for Arctibax, who can at least kind of counter with some ice, but B, fairies are the bane of this team. Now, if this team were fully evolved, I mean, stat-wise, it'd be great. Yanmega would be still a bug flying, and Fletchinder would still be a fire, Talonflame would be a fire, fire flying. But as it stands, stat-wise, we're looking at it type-wise. And take out that obvious fairy weakness, and it's a catch-22 because they're strong against dragons as well, mostly. Is this team weak to anything else on this list? And honestly, the answer really is no. I mean, any extra weaknesses that exist, like say the fire with Arctibax, and I believe it has an ability that counteract fire or gets stronger with fire, so that's countered right there. All the other ones are either resistant or damn near resistant or damn near immune. Not fully immune, but damn near immune. I mean, Yanma and Fletchinder have immunity to ground types. And Noibat, so they have immunity to ground types. Water's not going to do a damn thing against this team. Bug is just roasted or frozen. Take your pick. Normal is normal. Normal is not good against anything save for being immune to Ghost. Then Rock means nothing against this team. I mean, Rock's good against Fletchinder, and to a degree, it's good against Yama too, but everything else would just trash Rock real quick. Actually, Noibat would actually be a little bit weak, just because of its stat line, not because of its typing, but it'd be a little bit weak to Rock. Ground's really not a problem for this team at all. Ghost is, I mean, it's immune to the fighting type moves of Hakamo, but that's it. And Ice. Ice would be a bit of a problem for some of this team. Yama would have a problem with Ice. Noibat would have a problem with Ice. But Frigivax is already part Ice. Walking Wake is part water. Hakamo is part fighting. So they have enough. Their weakness is turned into a neutral, I believe, resistance. And then they can come in with a specific attack to take down an Ice type. So honestly, except for fairies and dragons, I think is an even sweep because they are also strong against dragons. Except for fairies, this team is pretty solid overall. It's a predominantly dragon Pokemon team, but honestly, this could be even if you fully evolved it into a champion team. Because if you fully evolved, you have a Talonflame and a Yanmega, which are pretty good in their own right. Then you'd have an Arctibax, a Kommo-o, a Noibat, and Walking Wake. That would not be that bad, all things considered. But this is just my opinion anyway. What do you think? What would you do for Spyro's team if you'd do anything different? Or do you like my team and wouldn't change my team? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back with box office in a little bit.